Hey guys, today's September 1st, and we're going to be going over how to solve and graph multi-step inequalities. So you'll notice that here on the left-hand side, we have 6 parentheses x plus 2 minus 4x. You're going to draw your line down the inequality because this is how we normally solve equations. It's very similar. We're going to distribute the 6 into our parentheses. So that gives me 6x plus 12 minus 4x is greater than or equal to 8. Next, we're going to combine 6x, take away 4x. That's 2x's plus 12 is greater than or equal to 8. Now we look at what they're adding or subtracting to the x, and we always do the opposite. So I'm going to take my 12 from both sides. So that gives you 2x is greater than or equal to negative 4. And lastly, we just divide both sides by 2. So your answer is x is greater than or equal to negative 2. And we can go ahead and type that in and insert it right here with the Hypatia add-on tools. I'm not going to go over how to do that, but you should know how to type that in. Now we're going to go over how to put your solution in your graph. So when it has equal to, that means it's a solid line because it can be, or solid dot because it can be equal to negative 2. So we're going to go put the solid circle on negative 2. If it was greater than, which means if it didn't have the equal to, we would go ahead and just use the open circle. And now we're going to go ahead and shade all of our values greater than or equal to negative 2. So going over here, we're going to click for our arrow. We're going to graph our line goes to the right because all values greater than negative 2 are to the right. And, oops. Okay, so now that I have my arrow, we're going to go ahead and change the color. I'm going to use red. I'm going to change it to 4 points so it's just a little bit bigger and we can actually see it. So this is what our solution would look like when I graph it. Example 2. On this example, you'll notice that you have x's on both sides. When you have variables on both sides, you always want to find the smaller variable, but since they're both the same, if I do the opposite of positive 4x, which is take away 4x, on the left-hand side, you'll notice that there's nothing left, so that's 0 is less than or equal to, over here, you now have a negative 7. Now, is 0 less than or equal to negative 7? No. So this is called a false statement. When it's a false statement, your answer is going to be no solution. Whoops, that's already typed in there for you. No solution. So if there is no solution, what would I do on my graph? Well, if there's no answer for it, then I don't have a graph for it. So the graph just stays blank. Nothing gets shaded. A no solution would also look like this, a 0 with a line through it. That means there was no answer for this problem. Example 3. For this example, we're going to go ahead and draw a line down the middle. We have 5x on both sides, so I take away 5x here. That goes away and it just leaves me with 7. On this side, if I take 5x, you'll notice that I'm just left with negative 8. So we have the inequality of greater than. 7 is greater than negative 8. That is true. So when you have a true statement after you complete this and your variable disappears, that means that your answer is all real numbers. So right here, we're going to go ahead and type all real numbers. What that means is any number on this number line is possible to be the value for x here, and no matter which value, it'll be true. So that means this whole number line has to be shaded. So I'm going to come over here and I want to put my arrow and I want to shade the whole thing. So once I put my arrow there, again, we're going to just go ahead and make it red so we can see it, make it a 4 point. And notice that your arrow is just going one direction. We need to have it going both directions. So I'm going to insert another arrow, this time going the other direction. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my arrow and I'm going to draw one going to the left as well. My answer can go all the way both directions. So by doing that, I'm just going to drag it down here. I can see that any number on this number line would be correct. We do have a rule that we have to remember when we solve inequalities. And here that rule that you must follow is that you have to flip the inequality sign whenever you multiply both sides by a negative number. So multiply both sides of the inequality by a negative number, or divide both sides by a negative number. So again, anytime you multiply or divide both sides by a negative number, that inequality symbol has to get flipped. So we flip it the other direction when we do that. So let's look at example 4 for an. We're going to draw a line down the inequality and we're going to distribute the 3 into our parentheses. So this gives you 3x minus 18 plus 2 is greater than or equal to 5x minus 4. Here, we're going to combine our numbers together. So 3x minus 16 is greater than or equal to 5x minus 4. Now, instead of looking for the smaller inequality, I'm just going to do the opposite of positive 5 and move them over to the left-hand side. We're used to seeing the variable on the left-hand side. So I'm going to take away 5x from both sides. So that gives me negative 2x minus 16 is greater than or equal to negative 4. Now we're going to do the opposite of minus 16, so plus 16. So that's negative 2x is greater than or equal to 12. And lastly, I divide by negative 2. Notice that I'm dividing both sides by a negative number. When that happens, when you're dividing both sides by a negative number, that flips your inequality right here. So that becomes x is less than or equal to negative 6. So now I'm going to go ahead and bring my solid onto the negative 6. It can be equal to negative 6, and it's all values less than or equal to negative 6. So we're going to draw an arrow going to the left for all values less than negative 6. And again, we can go ahead and change it to make it a red line, and I'm going to make it my 4-point line. You're going to go ahead and practice graphing and solving inequalities today. Okay, guys, have a great day.